I grew up in Surrey and have a love for its abundant forests, so I'm sharing here some folklore and astrological syncretism connected with this land regarding a trip I made earlier this year in which I got lost near the Devil's Punch Bowl on my way to accommodation in Hindhead after visiting Hazelmere. Although the pathways on the map seemed quite straightforward, it was getting dark and I found myself approaching unexpected and unsignposted forks in the paths and had to guess the way. This was quite scary since I had no idea if I was still heading in the right direction. Luckily, I found a cluster of houses in the woods, and one had smoke coming from the chimney, and it seemed friendly looking. The couple inside explained where I was, and since it was still quite a long walking distance and already dark, the man kindly drove me into Hindhead. The following day, I had the chance to explore Hindhead Common, home of a large compression in the land known as the Devil's Punch Bowl. Close to the visitor centre could be seen a statue of the devil for the Devil's Punch Bowl, although it looked faun-like, perhaps like Pan. The statue had many curious symbols, including the Celtic cross, and the figure was holding earth in its hand. According to local legend, this site got its name from a story involving the devil who had jumped over 3 hills known as the Devil's Jumps at Churt in Surrey. This aggravated Thor, who lived at the nearby place of Primrose Lee, in Old English meaning the lee, field or clearing of Thor. The village is now known as Thursley, and Thor's stone can be found on Thursley Common, where it is thought that Thor was likely worshipped in the past. In the legend, Thor tried to strike the devil down with thunder and lightning, but the devil retaliated, picking up a handful of earth which he threw at Thor, leaving a compression in the land now known as the Devil's Punch Bowl. According to the Old Straight Track by Alfred Watkins, place names of Lee at the end can be indicators of areas of ley lines, so it's likely that energy lines could be doused in this area. Astrologically, this is interesting. The Norse god Thor was syncretized with Jupiter by the Romans in their records of the Germanic peoples. The devil archetype of the faun or Pan is sometimes associated with Capricorn, symbolized by the goat, and its ruling planet Saturn, who, according to Virgil in Roman writing, gave laws, order, and systems of agriculture to the fauns. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Saturn rules the following sign of Capricorn, which opens the winter solstice when the sun reaches the Tropic of Capricorn. Astrologically, the story represents the changing of the season from Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, going into the next sign Capricorn at the winter solstice, with Saturn asserting his dominance. There are other astrological clues in the area, including the Celtic cross or gibbet cross, which has a history strangely connected with the folklore in which the story seemed to repeat itself. The cross is found on Gibbet's Hill, where a murder took place in 1796 involving a sailor who befriended 3 highwaymen at a local Thursley pub, the old worship site of Thor or Jupiter. The 3 men were tried and hung at Gibbet's Hill, yet fears began to grow in the area, and in 1851 Judge Sir William Earle paid for a Celtic cross to be erected at the site to raise the spirits there, perhaps bringing the story into alignment with nature and harmony. Both the cross and a stone for the sailor can be found at the edge of the Devil's Punch Bowl. In Syncretism, the cross is an important symbol, appearing in cultures and religions across the world. In its astrological form, it represents the pathway of the sun, the ecliptic, as it passes through the 4 cardinal signs of Aries at the spring equinox, Cancer at the summer solstice, Libra at the autumn equinox, and Capricorn at the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. Capricorn symbols include the goat and the sea goat. But Capricorn is also associated with the Devil card in tarot, showing a faun-like deity called Baphomet, and over the centuries, faun-like beings such as Pan, the god of the wild, were demonised. In the life of St. Colin, the abbot of Glastonbury claimed to banish the spirit of the land, Gwynedd Neath, from Glastonbury Tor using holy water, since the vision of the fairy castle disappeared along with Gwyn. Another interpretation could be, however, that Colin just instead separated himself further from interaction with the spirits of nature and lost contact with them. Other Christian mystics have held more open-minded attitudes. Antony the Great, a Christian monk from Egypt, once met a centaur and a satyr while travelling through the desert on his way to meet Paul of Thebes. The centaur, despite language difficulties, pointed in the desired direction. However, St. Jerome, who recorded these experiences in writing, was uncertain of whether this was an apparition sent by the devil or simply an animal of the desert, demonstrating attitudes at the time towards these nature beings. Later, Antony met a peaceful satyr or faun who offered him dates and spoke to him, aware of mankind's errors and judgments about his kind. I am a mortal being and one of those inhabitants of the desert whom the Gentiles, deluded by various forms of error, worship under the names of fauns, satyrs, and incubi. I am sent to represent my tribe. We pray you in our behalf to entreat the favour of your Lord and ours, who, we have learnt, came once to save the world, and whose sound has gone forth into all the earth. The satyr or faun was letting the monk know that his kind were aware of Christ consciousness and that mistaking them for demons or worshipping them was an error. Astrologically, the story is significant since the centaur is a symbol of Sagittarius and the faun or goat is a symbol of the next sign, Capricorn. Although nature spirits have been unfairly demonised over the centuries, separating us further from our connection with the land and Mother Earth, it is still right to acknowledge that we live in a realm of duality and that there are demons or demonic forces which will test us at times and attempt to pull us down into the ego through vices such as pride, arrogance, lust, controlling behaviour, malice, or greed. Capricorn is linked to themes of ambition, goals, career, work, systems, government, and fatherhood. Its symbol, the goat, can climb any mountain fearlessly. Capricorn can get a project completed or bring success with a career, and faun energy can bring joy in the depths of winter. Capricorn's ruling planet Saturn can provide structure, boundaries, discipline, commitment, and awareness of cycles, ages, and time. Yet if inverted or unbalanced, Saturn's energy can become satanic or controlling. Just as there is a force that will try and pull us down into the temptations of the ego and separation, there is an equal force which inspires us to move towards the soul and the virtues, including temperance, prudence, fortitude, and justice. This is the balance between good and evil in our world. Yet ultimately, everything belongs to the non dual self, the one consciousness in all things, and meditation is a beautiful way to move beyond duality into the silence of the self. Understanding these stories beyond fear and superstition and connecting with the cross can also help to put it all in context. The cross represents the pathway of the sun, Christ consciousness, moving along the ecliptic with the four cardinal signs leading the way with the changing seasons at each equinox and solstice. The word solstice is Roman, meaning the sun or sol standing still, and the sun will seem to stand still for 3 days on the 21st or 22nd of December at the end of the ecliptic before turning again and moving upwards towards the equator, usually on the 24th or 25th of December. This marks the point of midwinter where the daylight hours are at their shortest. This is the darkest time, and from this point onwards, light begins returning and the sun is reborn. In Roman times, the birthday of the sun was celebrated on the 25th of December and was known as Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birthday of the invincible sun. This celebration was later syncretized with Christian traditions to become the birthday of Jesus or Yeshua. In Roman times, Saturn was celebrated every year with the festival of Saturnalia, with feasts and gift-giving on the 17th of December, and these festivities were later extended until the 23rd of December, covering the time of the winter solstice. We can see the similarities here regarding the gift-giving. The symbols of winter solstice in Capricorn and the astrological memories are still apparent in our culture. Yule is often symbolized by the Yule goat. In Scandinavia in the 19th century, the Yule goat was seen as a Christmas gift giver, and men would dress up as the goat, but this custom was later replaced by Father Christmas, who took this role. Father Christmas in the UK was also depicted with symbols of Yule, such as the Yule goat of Scandinavia and Northern Europe. It is thought that its popularity came from the Norse god Thor, who was drawn by two goats in his chariot. Saturn is also associated with themes of the father. He was the father of Jupiter in Roman mythology and often referred to as Father Time or Kronos. Here we can see the obvious correlation with Father Christmas. As with all tools, astrology is helpful to understand deeper patterns of the macrocosm and how they relate to the microcosm of our individual lives. However, the true father energy is always found within, with God, and with the divine self. Learning about astrology is fascinating and can help us connect the natural patterns and rhythms of life in the universe. But to deepen our connection with the self, we have to put everything down and come back to the peace of being pure awareness, pure beingness. So, as we approach our winter solstice, I wish you a jovial and merry season.